Hi everyone, I've got now Govind with me, who's one of the lead dancers in the show. Govind, thanks for joining us on Oz Indian TV.
Thanks for having me, Dinesh.
So tell us a bit about your involvement with the show. How did that come about?
Yes, we've performed this show a couple of times before, once in Auckland, Hobart, and then Melbourne. So this is our chance to bring it to Sydney. It came about because I was passionate about two things. One, educating audiences about classical Indian dance, and because of that we have a documentary film as part of the show. And secondly, I was quite passionate about having a platform for young musicians and dancers to get together and create new work.
So Sutra is now in 2013, right? But you obviously started dancing much before this. How long have you been dancing for, and sort of how did you get into it?
Yeah, I guess it's very hard to say when I exactly started, because apparently as a toddler I used to dance all around the place and just whenever I had spare time. But I think what really solidified it for me was watching my sister at dance classes. And I took quite an interest that my parents thought they should probably try put me in classes. So I've been learning since I was about 7, but I took a fairly long break of about 5 years at university. And I think that was mainly as growing up as a male dancer. I think as you go through adolescence, you probably contend with a few more things.
So that's interesting. You do mention that. Bharatanatyam, of course, we see it as a female-dominated arena, I guess. How did you, a male person, get into this? Is it just because you enjoyed the art form?
I do think passion overrides a lot of those thoughts. But as dancers, we often use adjectives to describe ourselves, like male dancer, female dancer, Bharatanatyam dancer, Mohiniyattam dancer, etc., etc. And I'm not sure that's really relevant, because what's really important is when you enter the stage that you really relinquish a lot of that identity and what's on your birth certificate. So, you're really genderless, you're ageless, you don't have those boundaries, and you have to assume the character that you're taking. So I think of it that way.
That's wonderful.
The purpose behind Karma, the dance group in itself, is to firstly support community charities, and the second intention is to give a platform for up-and-coming artists to progress and continue with their creative side. You are always learning when it's art. Art has no end to the learning process. But you need a platform where you can display this, where you can create with each other. And that's what I do.
Yeah. And also it's a bit of a personal development exercise, isn't it? You must learn so much about scheduling and practicing and dedication. All that stuff really must come through.
Yeah, so there's a discipline aspect to it, very definitely. There's also for younger children particularly, it's a great confidence builder, because you have to learn to put yourself out there in front of people. And once they do that, they feel, hey, I can do this.
How much sort of preparation is involved with a concert like this, where you got to research the background behind these songs, the composers, and what the meaning of the song is and what the intentions of the composers were? Is that a lot of work as well, apart from the actual dancing itself?
I think it's very important to understand the item from a number of angles. The music itself is something that you really need to absorb and understand and think about. Obviously the lyrics and the language is something else. A lot of that comes from the guru, I think, so the interpretations and what is beyond the words of the song comes from that, spending time with the guru and being taught a piece beyond just the mechanical movements. So I think a lot of work goes into it, both from the teacher and the student, to give a piece real justice.
So I've got Hamsa Auntie, who's joined us as well now. She's, of course, Govind's guru, and we've all seen her previously on TVS. So can you tell us a bit about the show? What are your thoughts on Sutra?
I'm really pleased to see the next generation of musicians and dancers taking responsibility and moving forward with their learning. And I think that's really important for this art to sustain in a country like Australia, when you're bringing an art from another country and trying to grow it in a new place, in a new environment. It's really important that the next generation takes on an active role, and I'm very pleased to see that happening here.
That's fantastic. Just now that you do mention the younger generation and of course being Govind's guru, I've always been intrigued by the relationship a guru has with his or her disciple, and I guess that's very unique to Indian culture. Can you tell us a bit about that, having yourself grown up in the Kalakshetra system, and how your experiences was when you were growing up, and how that was instilled in your sort of, I guess, psyche, and how now that you're on the other side, you're the guru now, and how you see that relationship?
As you rightly pointed out, the Guru Sishya Parampara is extremely important, the bond between the guru and the student in Indian classical art forms, because it just goes beyond learning something, and it involves the body and the soul. So when that comes in, it has to be a relationship that we can work well.
So now I've got Krishna with me, who's one of the lead singers in the show. Krishna, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure to be here.
So tell us a bit about how you got involved with the show.
So basically, I sang for one of Hamsa Auntie's programs last year, Kavyam. I was really interested. There's a lot of new things that I learned.
You've sort of come up as a musical artist, and you've sung in Sydney, you've sung in Madras, and obviously other parts of the world as well. That must be totally different to singing live on stage with a person dancing.
I guess the music itself, the purity of it and the essence of it is exactly the same. I mean, as a musician, we have a responsibility to be rendering the song perfectly. We have a responsibility in rendering things like, manodharmam aspects of music, to our potential. Things like the pronunciation, things like the essence of a raga, and things like beats, as well as shruti alignment. That's something that, whether it's for a dance program or whether it's for a classical music concert separately, those things we can't compromise on.
It's again pertinent with the time factor there, because you're given a time there where you have to stick to the time, and then you sing. Same goes with the dance, but here it's all pertinent with the dance moves there, because the dancer shows the abhinayas, so you got to go according to the abhinayas and the gestures that the dancer shows. If there is a varnam, actual varnam that goes in the actual Carnatic music, it can be suited to the dance, provided it's a pada varnam, where it can be suitable for the dance. So where the dancer can take the features from the varnam and project it out. There
are quite different things as well, quite a few challenges. I think one of the main challenges is that there is a big cohesion between the musician and the dancer. A lot of the things that a musician does in a particular dance concert is actually based on the dancer and how his expression is with the audience. It's about communicating. It's a cohesive relationship, I guess, with the musician and the dancer. We're both trying to communicate our expressions to the audience. Myself as a musician through the music, and Govind obviously and his sister through abhinay expressions through their dance.
A lot of feeling involved with playing a percussion instrument, isn't it?
Definitely. I think it's more so when you're playing for dance as well. I guess you've got to get into the emotion of the dancer, and if you enjoy yourself while you're playing, definitely makes it much more satisfying. Definitely trying to give the rhythm continuously, especially for a dance program. So if that rhythm is or that tempo is maintained, then you can definitely keep the singer on cue and also the dancer. So you're kind of like the middle person really between the singer and dancer in many ways for a dance performance.
I actually started Western violin first when I was very young, when I was about maybe 7 or 8 years old, and then when I was about 14, my parents encouraged me or pushed me a little, I guess, to do Carnatic violin. And I think at the time I was a little bit hesitant to do it, but then after a while I realised that I really enjoyed it, even more so than Western violin. So I've been learning for about 10 years now, and after a while I gave up Western to focus on my Carnatic violin.
Cool. So how's that difference between Western violin and Carnatic violin?
I think the biggest difference is Carnatic music in general has a lot of improvisation aspects in it, whereas Western violin has very limited amounts. There's obviously different styles with the fingering and with the bowing as well, and the way you hold the instrument is very different. But I think at the very heart of it, Carnatic music is very different to Western music, so that's what you need to wrap your head around.
We rarely get to see a band of young musicians and dancers come together to produce something of their own. And so I think this is really quite special for that reason as well. I think there's a number of reasons why this show is quite different and unique, and I hope to have your support.